So when I was reading the article and looking at Larry Cuban's statement, the part that kind of spoke to me was that quantities of money and time have yet to yield return to approach what has been promised in the achievement. And I think that is so true. I know in my own district we are one-to-one. We've been one-to-one for at least 12 years. We kind of started out with, a classroom set, but every classroom had the set, to when COVID hit, we had one-to-one and kids were allowed to take those devices. Even my daughter was in pre-K and brought home an iPad, and our older students have Chromebooks, and, I'm seeing the loss, we're a really low-income district, and every day I'm sending 15 kids to the library to get a loaner device because theirs isn't working, their buttons are crushed, and so I kind of see that loss, and I think, I hope we're getting the return on our money for providing those devices, or, when I see maybe a preschooler with an iPad that costs, a lot more than maybe a Chromebook, is that really that great of a return on that money? Just because maybe they're just using those apps, or, is what we're doing academically with that device really worth the money that we're spending? And, having to replace, I think we're like on a 4-year rotation with most of those devices, and we end up selling them, on an auction site for pennies on the dollar. And so when I think about what I see in a classroom, how they're being used, are they just being used as something to get on the internet with, or are they just using Google tools? That's something I kind of question too, and I wonder, within my own use. In my classroom, I teach math. We have smart boards, and a couple years ago, a couple of our teachers wanted like an iPad so that they could use it kind of as like a slate to be able to walk around the room, and I had like $100 device that worked really well for me and that I really liked, but instead, we purchased, an iPad for each teacher, and an Apple TV, and an Apple Pencil, and, as those tools are really great and they're really cool, there were so many other tools that I felt like we could have done that would have been cheaper, and maybe not a one-size-fits-all. Like, not every single math teacher needed to have that. We didn't need to buy it for the whole district, and so I think that's kind of another way where, with that expense, being knowledgeable about what's out there, I think can help reduce some of that cost. Know what tools are available for your students. If if there's a paid app that you would want, maybe there's a free one that does something pretty similar. And so I think, kind of having a comparison of, is this cost really worth what we're going to get out of it in return with our students? Something else that I thought was kind of interesting, when it was talking about those pieces, transforming the classroom. How is one-to-one really transform the classroom? And I think kids do some really cool things, and, it does allow them to collaborate, and, my kids can create a video and have transitions and do all these amazing things. But has that really transformed their education? Are kids better readers? Are they better problem solvers? And I think in certain things, yes, and the technology has helped some of that. And in other ways, I feel like some of those soft skills have gone away. Being able to just collaborate with somebody who's sitting beside you versus, using a device. And so I kind of see both sides. In math, we don't use technology a ton, for review or things like that. But we still use some old school paper pencil in there. And so I think it's just balance. Another thing that I thought was really interesting in the Pew article about the smartphone only, we really found that whenever coronavirus hit and we were forced to go online, so many of our kids would tell us, yeah, I got internet, but really they only had it on a phone, and they couldn't do what we needed them to be able to do for academics on a cell phone device. And so that was kind of surprising to see how many people still are only smartphone only without having broadband at their home. And so I think that's a huge issue. I know we face that, in our district, trying to get kids hotspots and getting internet. We live in an area that's kind of, sketchy with internet, even at my own home, trying to get internet providers and things like that. And so I think that's somewhere where we need to look in education and how that's going to affect it, and what tools we use and how we use them.